The paternity test results burned in my hand like a live coal. I stood frozen in my home office, staring at the clinical language that confirmed what I'd suspected for months. A 99.9% match. The child my sister Olivia had been raising alone for the past year, the one my family had rallied around her to support, was my husband Andrew's son. My lungs seemed to forget how to function as the room tilted slightly. The antique desk lamp cast shadows across the document, highlighting phrases that seared themselves into my vision. Paternal relationship confirmed, genetic markers consistent, biological father. Through the open window, I could hear Andrew in the backyard, laughing with friends at the barbecue I'd organized for his birthday. The irony wasn't lost on me. While I'd been planning his celebration, decorating our home with photographs of our 10 years together, he'd been creating a secret family with my own sister. My name is Rachel. I'm 34 and a financial analyst. This is the story of how I turned betrayal into justice when the two people I trusted most tried to steal my life. Andrew and I met in graduate school. I was immediately drawn to his steady confidence, the way he could command a room without raising his voice. When he proposed 3 years later, my sister Olivia had been the first person I called. She'd squealed with delight, insisted on planning my bachelorette party, helped me choose the perfect dress. "You deserve this happiness," she'd said, hugging me tightly. I've never seen a love so real. What I didn't recognize then were the lingering glances, the casual touches that lasted a second too long. The way Olivia always seemed to need something whenever Andrew was home alone. The excuses to call him directly instead of me. The coincidental meetings at his favorite coffee shop that she'd casually mention. Trust makes you blind to patterns that would be obvious to strangers. The first concrete sign came 8 months ago. Andrew had been working late more frequently, his explanations increasingly vague. One night, his phone lit up while he was in the shower. A text from Olivia. "Miss you already. Next time, your place." My body went cold as I scrolled back through hundreds of messages, each more intimate than the last. Photos. Plans. Declarations. I replaced the phone exactly where it had been and went downstairs to pour myself a glass of wine with steady hands. That night, I smiled at him across our dinner table and asked about his day as if my world hadn't just imploded. Most people immediately confront. They explode with hurt and rage, demand explanations, throw things, make threats. That gives the betrayers power, the power to spin narratives, manipulate emotions, control the situation. I chose a different path. The next morning, I called a private investigator and my attorney. By afternoon, I had set in motion what would become my salvation. The PI documented their meetings, photographed them entering hotels, recorded timeline and frequency. Meanwhile, I quietly opened separate accounts, secured copies of all our financial records, and began transferring assets into my name where legally possible. I didn't just want to leave Andrew. I wanted him to face consequences proportional to his betrayal. The DNA test was the final piece. Ordered discreetly, using a sample from Andrew's hairbrush and obtained from Olivia's son through the clever ruse of a university genetic study that offered participants $500. Money my sister couldn't resist. With the results now confirming what I knew, I slipped the papers into my desk drawer and straightened my dress. Outside, the party continued. I fixed my smile in place and carried out the birthday cake I'd special ordered, with "To My Forever" written in Andrew's favorite chocolate ganache. 2 weeks later, Andrew died in a car accident. His sports car, the one I'd told him was an unnecessary expense, wrapped around a tree after he took a curve too fast on a rainy night. The toxicology report showed he'd been drinking. The police investigation revealed a restaurant receipt with 2 glasses of wine and 2 entries. Olivia was conspicuously silent about her whereabouts that evening. I arranged the funeral with meticulous care, accepted condolences with grace, and watched as Olivia stayed carefully in the background, her 1-year-old son balanced on her hip. She didn't know I knew. She thought her secret was safe. Until the reading of the will. Andrew's attorney, Martin, looked uncomfortable as we gathered in his office. Olivia sat across from me, bouncing her son on her knee. She'd dressed him in a tiny suit that matched the one Andrew had been buried in. Before we begin, Martin said, there's something unusual. 2 versions of Andrew's will have been filed. Olivia's head snapped up. The most recent version, dated 3 months ago, leaves everything to his wife, Rachel. That's impossible, Olivia interrupted, her voice tight. Andrew told me he'd changed his will. He promised provision for his son. She bounced the baby more vigorously. The room went silent. Even Martin seemed stunned by her admission. His son. Martin repeated. Yes, she said, lifting the child as if he were evidence in a trial. My son is not just mine. He is Andrew's son. Her voice grew stronger, emboldened by what she thought was her trump card. And as his heir, we are entitled to half of everything, including the $800,000 house. She pulled out a folder. I have a copy of the will right here. He showed it to me himself. Martin took the document, examined it briefly, then looked at me. The question in his eyes was clear. Did you know? I nodded once, my expression unchanged. Miss Olivia, Martin said slowly, this document is merely a draft. It was never executed, never notarized, never witnessed. The official will, which I have here, leaves everything to Rachel. That's not possible, Olivia insisted, her voice rising. He promised me. We were going to start over once he told her everything. When was he planning to tell me? I asked, my voice steady. Before or after your son's first birthday? Her face drained of color as she realized what I knew. How? DNA doesn't lie, I said simply. Neither do text messages, hotel receipts, or the private investigator I hired. Martin cleared his throat. There's more. Andrew had significant debt. The house carries 2 mortgages. The life insurance policy names Rachel as sole beneficiary. There's also a business loan for a venture that appears to have failed. He said he was wealthy, Olivia whispered, more to herself than anyone else. He lied, I replied. To both of us, apparently. The rest of the meeting passed in a blur of legal terminology. When it concluded, Olivia followed me to the parking lot. Please, she said, grabbing my arm. We are still sisters. I have his child. You have to help us. I looked at her, really looked at her. The sister who had played with me as a child, who had held my hand at our parents' funeral, who had then taken the most precious thing in my life and thought she could take the rest. You made your choices, I said. Live with them. 3 days later, I received a call from our mutual friend Diane. Did you know Olivia's telling people Andrew was planning to leave you? That you found out and tampered with the brakes on his car? I hadn't expected that, but I'd prepared for something like it. Slander was predictable from someone desperate. How interesting, I replied calmly. I have all the maintenance records for Andrew's car. The police report is clear about the cause of the accident. And I have quite a collection of evidence about their affair, including DNA proof of paternity. Would she really want all that becoming public knowledge in a defamation lawsuit? The rumors stopped immediately. 1 month later, I used the life insurance money to pay off the house and Andrew's debts. I sold his remaining assets and invested the proceeds. Then I left an envelope in Olivia's mailbox containing a check for $25,000 and a note, for your son. He didn't choose his parents. She called me immediately. Is this guilt money? Are you trying to buy my silence? No, I answered. It's the only thing your son will ever get from his father's estate. Accept it or don't. It changes nothing between us. 6 months have passed. I've sold the house and moved to another state. I've changed my name back to my maiden name. Sometimes I think about the life I planned, the children Andrew and I might have had. But mostly, I think about the lessons this taught me. People often ask how I remained so calm through everything. They say they would have screamed, thrown things, fallen apart. What they don't understand is that justice doesn't require theatrics. It requires clarity, patience, and the willingness to play the long game. If you're facing betrayal right now, remember this: your first reaction rarely serves you. Take a breath. Think. Document everything. And know that sometimes, the most powerful revenge isn't what you do to others, it's what you refuse to let them do to you. The greatest revenge isn't destruction. It's resurrection. Building something new from the ashes of what was taken from you. My sister still sends occasional texts. Apologies. Explanations. Pleas for reconciliation. I read them sometimes, but I never respond. Not because I haven't forgiven her, but because some bridges, once burned, should stay ashes. Sometimes the family you're born with isn't the family you deserve. And sometimes the greatest act of self-love is walking away.